Are you ready for some romance? Some more Cynsters? I love me Cynsters. I love the Cynsters so much. The books are so well written. And so welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina K-I-R-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books, talk about books, and no special effects, no theme music, none of that French basic stuff going on here. So anyways, we started the other day. I'm so discombobulated. Dude, I am definitely 100% discombobulated. We started the other day with Devil's Bride. Devil and Honoria meet, and Honoria doesn't know who he is for the first couple chapters. She's got to stay tuned when she finds out who he is and how they're going to be engaged to be married, and she puts up a, no, but not really that bad, and he's got to talk her into it, and she's like, oh, all right. And she's just in love. She's fallen head over heels in love with Devil. And he's a sibling number one or cousin number one, depending on how you look at it. Then we have Vane, who meets Patience, who goes off and he runs into Patience, and he has to solve the mystery of the missing items in the house. Who's stealing the items? Why are they stealing the items? And what's the little mystery surrounding Patience's brother? We get into that. And last week we did Scandal's book, or Richard's book, him and the Lady of Vale, and they have a little mystery with her mentor, sort of, kind of. And Richard's also got to learn his way around the Vale and get the people to let him do stuff, get Katrina to let him do stuff, work out their relationship. He goes through some serious issues here. He has some health issues. Someone may or may not have poisoned him. Spoiler alert. And we wait till we read this book to do a prequel. We had to wait till the third book, till after all that stuff was done, because otherwise, it would spoil it. So here we are with the Parents book. This is a prequel, and then next week we will move on to, let's see, which book is next. That's last. A Rogue's Proposal. And then we will move on to A Secret Love. And All About Love. And Chillingsworth will get, I don't remember why I did this, why I wrote this on the cover, but I did. It's Chillingworth, he's a family friend. And then we end with the twins, Amelia and Amanda. Wicked Night, Wicked Dawn. And then we will move on to the Bastion Club, which starts a little bit before this series. And then we will go to the Black Cobra Quartet and the Buccaneers. And then, of course, the Next Generation. So, are you ready for some romance? Oh, wait a second here. I've got to... Did you want something? Smoke. Did you want to come up? Did you want to come up? She wants to come up for a reading. We're going to let her come up for a reading. So go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, yes. All of my books just went flying on the floor. So anyways, let's get to it. The Promise in a Kiss. This is where the father meets the mother. And naked guy on the cover. None of her covers have... They're all elegant. Although, I can't say the same for the back of the cover. And Fame. Big, muscled, macho guy. Hey, Smoke. All right, let's get to this. Oh, and there's a family tree in here. So this is before. This is 30 years before. Midnight had come and gone. Helena had heard the small bell of the church chime as she paused in the doorway of the infirmary. 3 o'clock. Ariel, her younger sister, was at last sleeping deeply. Her fever had broken. She would be safe enough in Sister Artemis's care. Reassured, relieved, Helena would seek her own bed in the dormitory beyond the clusters. Dry leaves rustled in the night. She looked into where she knew an old creeper, gnarled and ancient, hugged the wall of the dormitory. Just ahead to her left, the wall was in shadow, dark and impenetrable. She narrowed her eyes, trying to pierce the gloom, unafraid, even at the hour. The convent was a zealously guarded reputation for security, which was why so many noble families sent their daughters here. Helena stared. It didn't occur to her to shriek. Why shriek? The man, a very tall, broad-shouldered man, was unquestionably a gentleman. Even in the uncertain moonlight, she would make out the sheen of his silk, the coat, the gleam of his jewel in the lace at his throat. Another bigger gleam adorned one figure of the hand he slowly raised to push back the locks that pulled free of his queue to fall through his chiseled features. Although he landed on stone, he managed to slow his fall. Other than a few bruises, she doubted he'd hurt himself. He didn't look hurt. He looked aggravated, disenchanted, but wary too. He was watching her intently, doubtlessly waiting for her to scream. He could wait. She hadn't finished looking. Sebastian felt as if he'd fallen into a fairy tale, fallen at the feet of an enchanted princess. It was her fault he'd fallen. He'd looked down, searching for his next foothold, and seen her step into the shadows. She lifted her face to the moonlight. He stared, forgotten what he was doing, and slipped. Millie pardons mademoiselle. He saw one dark, finely arched brow quirk, her lips full but unfashionably wide, relaxed fractionally, her hair unrestrained, cascade about her shoulders, wavy locks, deadlocks, black in the moonlight. I didn't mean to frighten you. She didn't look frightened. She looked like the princess he thought her. Supremely assured, faintly amused, he straightened to his full height, but slowly. She was a small woman. He towered over her. Her head hadn't reached up to his chin. Diabo le foul! He whirled around. A clamor of voices spilled into the night. Shattering the stillness, flares sprang to life at the end of the cloister. He stepped off the path, sliding into the shadow of the large bush. The princess could still see him, but he was hidden from the noisy crowd hurrying up the path. She could point him out in an instant, direct the guards to his way. Mademoiselle, have you seen him? Sister Agatha skidded to a halt at the end of the cloister. Seen a man, Sister Superior, already out of her breath, struggling to preserve her dignity. The Comte Vich sent a warning about a madman intent on meeting with Michelle Marchand and that silly, stupid girl. The man's been here, I'm sure of it. He must have climbed down the wall. Did he pass you? Did you glimpse him? The gates! Quick, hurry! We have him. My thanks, mademoiselle. I do not needlessly to say a madman. His deep voice, his cultured diction reassured her more than his words. Helena had glanced at the wall from which he'd fallen. Colette Marchand had left the convent the year before, but had returned to its safety 2 days ago by her incensed relatives, there to wait her brother who would come to fetch her away to the country. Colette's behavior in Paris salons had, it rumored, caused quite a stir. Helena looked at the stranger prowling nearer. What manner of man are you? An Englishman. She never would have guessed from his speech. He spoke with no discernible accent. The revelation did, however, explain. She'd heard that the English were often large and quite mad, wild even beyond Parisians' lax. She'd never met one before. The fact was clearly written in her expression, in those haunting, lovely, pale eyes. In the silvery light, Sebastian couldn't tell if they were blue, green, or gray. He regretted that he could not dally to find out. Raising a hand with the back of his finger, he traced the upward line of her cheek. Again, mademoiselle, my thanks. Her face was that of a French Madonna, not Parisian, but more dramatic, more vital. Sebastian felt a tug more primal than any he'd felt before. He lowered his head and he kissed her. A passionate kiss. A passionate, loving kiss to last a very long time. Sorry. Ending the kiss took effort and left him slightly dazed. He could feel her warmth along his body even though he hadn't touched her. He forced himself to step back, to look up, draw breath. He gazed, touched the mistletoe. On impulse, he reached up and snapped one trailing tendril. The feel of the twig between his fingers gave him something real, something of this world to cling to. Joel, Noel, he says. Go that way, she says. Her blood pounding in her ears, her head oddly dizzy, Helena waved him further back in the opposite direction to the main gate. When you reach the wall, follow it along the convent. You will find a wooden gate. I do not know if it's unlocked or it's the way the girls go when they sneak out into the lane. He's like, thank you. Years later, 5 years later, Colette had refused to divulge his name, her mad Englishman, yet there he stood, long, lean, and handsome as ever, albeit 7 years older. Surrounded by fashionable conversation on her way from one group to the next, Helena halted, transfixed. She sees him across the room. Her gaze raced over him. She hadn't seen him well enough in the gardens of the convent to catalog any changes, yet he still moved with the prowling grace she remembered. Surprising in one so large, devoid of powder and patches, the planes of his pale face seemed harder, more austere. His hair, now she could see its color, was a honey-toned brown, wavy locks drawn in a queue secure with a black ribbon. In the last 7 years had left any mark at all. It was in his presence that indefiable aura that clung to powerful men. He'd grown more powerful, more arrogant, more ruthless. The same 7 years had made her an expert. Power was to her as blatant as the color of skin. Phaedon de Mordaunt, Comte de Vichy, the aristocrat who exploited various family connections to have himself declared her guardian, excluded the same aura. The last 7 years had left her both weary and wary of powerful men. How does it go, ma Kazim? Helena turned, she nodded softly. Bonsoir, Louis. He wasn't her cousin, not evenly distantly related. She refrained from heartily reminding him of the fact. Louis was less than nothing. He was her keeper, no more than an extension of his uncle and Master Fabian. She could ignore Louis. Fabian she'd learned never to forget. I heard there's an English duke present, unmarried, St. Ives. You would do well to garner an introduction. Helena raised her eyebrows and glanced about the salon. A duke? Louis did have his uses. He was devoted to his Uncle Shames, and in this instant she and Fabian were pursuing the same agenda, albeit for different reasons. For 7 years she's been thinking about that kiss. That kiss! Remember some other stuff. She might rail against Fabian's hold over her, but he protected her when he regarded what he regarded as his. At 39, he was still in his prime. One man had died, the other two had fled. Fabian had chased them, but they had escaped. That evening, she and Fabian had discussed her future. Every minute of that private interview was engraved in her memory. Fabian had informed her that the men had been hirelings of the Rochefort. Like Fabian, the most powerful ingredients knew that a storm was coming. Each family, each powerful man, was intent on seizing all estates, titles, and alliances they could. The more they built their power, the more likely they would be to weather the storm. She'd become a docket. Not just for the Rochefelds. I received strongly worded requests for your land from all four of the major families. All four. As you perceive, all four constituents are unwelcome. So she's thinking about this other stuff. So let's just skip ahead a little bit. Uh, till there had to be one that would suit. She found Marjorie, a thin but elegant blonde of 30, chatting amicably with a lady and gentleman. She joined them. Later they parted, and she drew Marjorie aside. Whither say? Too old. Louis said there's a duke present, a St. Ives. What of him? Oh, no, no, no. Marjorie wiggled her head and shook her hands for good measure. She glanced around, then leaned closer to whisper, Not St. Ives, ma petite. He's not for you. Indeed, he is not for any gently reared mademoiselle. His reputation is of the most shocking. For years and years, so it's been. He's a duke, yes, and rich, and possessed all the estates, the most extensive estate, but he has declared he will not marry. Marjorie Grief gesture indicated her incomprehension of such things. This the society accepts. They say he has 3 brothers, and the eldest of them is now married with a son. So the duke is not at all eligible, and indeed he is dangerous. See Monsieur de Luc de St. Ives, her wild Englishman, he of cool, forceful lips, gentle in the moonlight. Now you see, dangerous. Elena could indeed see, yet she still remembered that kiss, the promise inherent within it, the sense that if she gave herself she would be forever cherished. Elementary, seductive, more potent than any lover's entreaties. He was a rake. He perfected his art. She had not a doubt, dangerous, that she would admit and wisely leave him be. So they discuss a few more men. Let's get to it. Come on, let's meet. Uh, Sebastian looked down into the Mademoiselle countenance he had not forgotten despite the passage of 7 long years. Her expression was aloof, as self-contained as he remembered, a blatant challenge for such as he, though he doubted she knew it. Her eyes, he waited until her lids lifted and gazed into his face. Green, palest green, peridot eyes, utterly startling in their crystal charity. Even eyes that would all allow a man to see into her soul, if she permitted it. He'd waited 7 years to see those eyes. Not the slightest trace of recognition showed in them, or in her expression. He let his lips curve appreciatively. He'd seen her watching him, knew she recognized him just as surely as he recognized her. Ahem, dearie waved. Monsieur de St. Ives, Mademoiselle la Comtesse d'Isle. Monsieur de Luc, Comtesse, you come lately from Paris? I sin ain't since. It is my first visit these shores. To London. Helena assumed he'd recognized her, but there was nothing to confirm it in his face. His angular, chiseled features resembled a stony mask, eradicating all telltale expression. His eyes were the blue of summer sky, impossibly innocent, yet framed by lashes so long and lush they dispelled any thought of innocence. His lips held a similar contradiction, long and thin, embodying more than a hint of ruthlessness, yet relaxed as they presently were. They suggested a subtle sense of humor, a dry, appreciative wit. He was not young, one of those currently about her. He was unquestionably the most senior, definitely the most mature. Yet he exhibited a vibrant masculine vitality that threw the rest into the shade, made them fade into the wallpaper. Have you visited Paris recently, my lord? Not in recent years. There was a time when I spent a part of every year there some years ago. I confess I'm surprised we haven't met before. I visit Paris infrequently. My estates lie in the south of France. So I surmised. Your pardon, your grace, I believe it is time we left. Is it not so, monsieur? Indeed. If Monsieur de Luc will excuse us, of course. Amusement lurked in his eyes as they returned to Helena's face. I take it you will be remaining in London, Comtesse, at least for the present? For the present. Then we will have no doubt have the opportunity to further our acquaintance. And he kisses her hand. Oh, so romantic. So they talk about it some more. We gotta get to some good parts. Uh, Finally, they have met. Louis dragged the cravat from his throat, threw it to his waiting valet, then loosened his collar. I was starting to worry that I would have to make the introduction myself, but she finally crossed his path. It went as Uncle Fabian predicted. He came to her. Indeed, monsieur, your uncle is uncanny prissate in such matters. Villard came to help Louis out of his coat. I will write to him tomorrow. He will want to hear the good news. Ah, so they were set up, were they? And she thinks about him. Helena met Monsieur de Luc St. Ives at Lady Montgomery's drum, at Lady Furness's rout, and at Rawlings' ball. When she went walking in the park by sheer chance, he was there, strolling with two friends. Indeed, wherever she went in the next 4 days, he was there. You don't think he's stalking her, do you? Um, I wish to talk with you. She didn't look at his face, but was quite sure his lips would have quirked. So I had supposed. Is there some place in this room in a view of all that no one will hear? There are alcoves along the side. You perceive me all ears, Mignon. What are you about? About? Precisely what do you hope to gain by hounding me in this fashion? Mignon, you wound me deeply. Would that I could. I am not your Mignon. Not his petting, not his darling, patronizingly as if he knew so much more. Helena clenched her fingers about her fan and forged the urge to hit him with it. She had anticipated such a response. A non-response had come prepared. She was, however, surprised by the depth of her irritation, by how easily he could make her temper soar. She was not normally so quick to prickle, to react. As you will no doubt have guessed, omniscient as you are, I am searching for a husband. I'm not, however, searching for a lover. I wish to have this clearly understood between us, your grace, regardless of your intent, regardless of your expertise. There is no likelihood, however, that I shall succumb to your charms. Well, of course you will. Uh, my standards might be exacting. They are demonstratively not unachievable. You are a pest. This is not my intention, Mignon. She gritted her teeth against the urge to scream. She was definitely not his Mignon, but she'd planned for even this, his intransigent, getting a habituate tyrant to accept defeat and go away. She hadn't expected to succeed at first till she drew her breath. Very well. If you insist on clinging to my skirts, you may as well be useful. You know all the gentlemen of the ton no more, I dare say, than most regarding their estates and circumstances. You may help me select a suitable husband. Well, he wants her to select him as a suitable husband. So let's see. Wait a second here. A few days later. My apologies, Mignon. This is not how I planned to ask you to be my wife. What? I had strangely enough imagined making some reasonable attempt at a proposal. It's customary, you know. No, I mean, we were not discussing marriage. We were discussing me accepting your protection. And precisely what sort of protection did you imagine I would extend to an unmarried noblewoman? She knew the answer to that. We were talking of me marrying some complacent gentleman, and then, no, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about marrying you. Not until those foolish people come in. I have told you before, I am more than 8. 7. Comment. Never mind, but contrary to your misguided notion, I was always thinking of marrying you. Pull my other arm, your grace. Putting her nose in the air, she went to sweep past him. No, we are settling this here and now. You have met my sister-in-law, Lady Amira. Yes, indeed. If I tell you she does not improve on further acquaintance, you will understand that the thought of her as the next Duchess of St. Ives has been seriously agitating many members of the family. I do not understand. Was her marriage to your brother not vetted and approved? No, it was not. Arthur, who was next in line for the title, is the mildest of the four. Elmira trapped him into marriage with the oldest trick. She claimed she was pregnant. She wasn't, as it turned out, but by the time Arthur realized the wedding had been announced, what cannot be undone, what's done cannot be undone. Which brings me to my point. You understand that what is to be the holder of a title, what responsibilities, whether one wishes them or not, it lies on one's shoulders. I waited to see how Myra would develop, whether she had it in her to become more gracious, more tolerant. That marriage doesn't last very long. I will spoil that right now. That marriage does not last very long. Arthur gets a much better wife the second time around. I have never forgotten you. I recognized you the instant I set eyes on you in Lady Montflet's salon. I was looking for a suitable wife and found none. Then suddenly you were there. You seem very certain I am suitable. You will never bore me to tears. Your temper is as bad as mine, and you are not to my annoyance the least awe of me. I am not in awe of you, yet I am not fool enough to underestimate you. You are adept at twisting the truth to suit yourself. You have not been thinking of marriage. Acquit me, Mignon. I assure you, in regard you, I have thought of nothing else. I did not make up my intentions plan for a very good reason, which was that any hint of my change of heart would have caused a sensation. Any suggestion I decided on you as my Duchess would have turned the tongue rabid. Every single lady with marriageable daughter would have stood in line to attempt to change my mind. I saw no reason to invite such interest. Instead, I thought to bide my time until now. Tomorrow I will leave London, and so will you. We will not be subjected to the full glare of society's interest. How do you know I will be leaving London? Because I have issued an invitation to the Theories and to you to visit Somersham Place. Hence my interest in Theories' return. So, he talks her into marriage. He gets her to Somersham Palace, or the place, as they call it. And they eventually do get married. And they eventually do have Sylvester. And then, of course, he has to go away for a spy mission. And as a result of that spy mission, we get Scandal. We get Richard. And you'll have to read, it's mentioned in here, but you get more detail in here of what happened with Richard. And it's just an awesome story. But you had to go through Scandal's book first to understand the full scope of what happened in The Promise. So that is book 3 and 4. Now we will move on to let me see here. Sorry. Did I drop a book? I must have dropped a book. To A Rogue's Proposal. So this will be next week's book. And then the week after, A Secret Love. And then All About Love. And then Chillingsworth. If you read Devil and all the other books, Chillingworth is a guy that appears in quite a few books. He will appear in quite a few books for books to come. And then, of course, the twins. So tune in next week. Have a good one.